Hello, it's Jane here. I'm back up in the polytunnel on an absolutely glorious evening in May, and the reason I say it in such a happy fashion is for the last few weeks we have had a huge amount of rain over here in the UK. I think in the April tour a few weeks ago I was talking about how dry everything was and how empty the water butts were. Well, you know, it's a bit of a case of be careful what you wish for, because we've had nothing but rain ever since. So what that means is things have built up in the polytunnel and the greenhouse of things that really I would have liked to have had in the ground by now. So for example, I hereby have a table full of beans, sweet corn, brassicas, tomatoes, all things that I really wish that I had in. But what I'm going to do today is sort of start to make inroads into getting things planted up, because I want to clear all this, sort out the polytunnel and get at least some of my tomatoes planted up. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it, but more importantly, how I'm going to support them. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of all this. Okay, right. It's really strange, you know, because I've just got rid of all the stuff and then it looks really nice, and I thought I'll just sweep this pathway in this middle. And can you see how much dust, how much dust is in the air? It's why sometimes you go home from the allotment, you know, and you think, why have I got a dirty face? When I've only been using my hands? It's because of this sort of thing. Right, okay, so this is magically cleared. I've got half of the stuff behind me here, the other half on the table, which is now outside the polytunnel. But what I want to do, because we're doing the polytunnel more or less as a no-dig bed, so basically this was potatoes, and I'll tell you how I know that in a minute. This was potatoes a couple of years ago. This time last year we just got this up and running, and all we've been doing is putting compost on the top, layer of cardboard, and just adding layers of compost. So now we're starting to get quite a nice growing medium. But if I tell you how I can remember, because I haven't got the best memories, you probably know that it's potatoes, is because even now, even 2 years later, we've got a volunteer potato here. Look at this, the little villain. You know, if it wasn't for the, let's see if there's anything, oh, there's nothing on the end. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm going to need as much room as I can for my tomatoes, I'd have left that in. There's a few volunteer, I'm going to throw it. Woo. There's a few volunteer marigolds as well, which I'm going to try and rake around, but there might be some collateral damage. Okay, so what I'm going to do, the compost that we use, I've mentioned before, the majority of it is council compost. So the quality is not brilliant, not as good as shop bought compost, certainly not as good as compost you would make yourself, but it adds to the soil structure, it adds to the medium, it gives you some depth. And to be honest, if we were having to buy all the compost we put in full price, we just couldn't afford to do it. However, we have treated ourselves to a couple of large bags to go on the top. So all I need to do now, she says, adding to the dust, killing that marigold that she was hoping to preserve, it's just spread it out a bit. Right then, this is where I suddenly look like I've shrunk, but this is where the fun begins, and I say that with my tongue firmly planted in my cheek, because it's one of those jobs I just want to get out the way. And this is the reason. It's just a bit of a faff. But what I want to do, I want to create a couple of supports going across where the tomatoes are going to be planted, from which I'm going to be able to hang strings to wind the tomatoes up. So first things first, I've got to make sure that this is going to cover both ends. I'm only going to want, can you still see me? Am I still there? I'm going to have to go under the, try not to hit my head this time. It's a bit of a liability. Can you see me behind the strawberries? Okay, I'm only going to want these tomatoes to go up to here. So I'm only concerned about that reaching here, far enough in off the crop bar so that it's not going to bang onto the plastic and create any damage. And also it's got one of these little plastic ball things on the end to protect the plastic just in case it slips. But I don't know if you can see, it doesn't go far enough. So, and this is the faffy bit, but it does strengthen it and it is good, I suppose, in the long run. But you really don't want to slip and poke it through the plastic. Oh, like that almost did. Okay, nice wobbly cane. This one, now I want to attach it to the first one. If I can get it going across both crop bars, all the better. Just to lengthen it really. And with that, I'm just going to tape it up with a little bit of this really horrible duct tape. You know what? I wonder what Monty Don'd use. He'd probably have some specially crocheted string or something, wouldn't he? But this does the job. It's very tough. I'm going to have to cut it there and take it round the back. And so basically all I've created there is one long stick. Okay, I'm going to tape at that end, try not to get it on the plastic. Tape it again here. And then, don't you hate it when you've got to try and find the end of the tape? There we are. And then secure it to the crop bars. So I'm securing it one to the other. Whee! I wonder if this will work. Oh, that's better. And if I stick that to me, it's on the floor. Right, okay. I'm going to pop that there like that. And then I'm going to secure, you can see where it was done last year, secure these bits here to the crop bars. So we've got a nice steady stick. Okay, so I'll get on with that and I will come back to you when it's done. Okay, I've got two almost parallel lines-ish of a nice strong stick going across both sides of the polytunnel, and all they're doing is acting as a support for the string. So if you're not going to use canes, you might have some nice 2B1 or some metal rods or something to go over, but for us we find the sticks are enough. Right, let's show you the next bit. Right, the next bit of my tomato planting is actually laying out the tomatoes. Now, when you've got 83 tomatoes, and I think there's 17 different varieties, you're not going to be able to plant them all. So what I did at home, I did a lovely plan. Not a spreadsheet, not that posh, but just a plan, scribbled down on a bit of paper about where I was going to put them. I was going to have all the beefsteaks together, I was going to have all the cherry tomatoes together. And what have I done with that plan? Sitting on the kitchen table. So what I'm going to do now is have a little sort, I don't know if you can see all these, oi, through the tomatoes. And before I do anything else to do with the strings, I'm going to work out where these go, and if not plant them, put them in place. So bear with me. Well, there you go, that's 12. You can see that one's fallen over already, which shows it's just far too big for its pot. It's nigh time for them to be in the soil. So now I've got them in place, I know where I'm going to need to do the support. And when I say support, what I mean is I'm going to tie some string corresponding to the placement of the tomatoes up here on these here sticks. This is where the fun begins with our string. Right, I don't know if I'm wobbly, I think I probably am. that's the way it goes. What I am going to be using for my supports for my tomatoes this year is just bog standard garden string. Now, this does break down. I am hoping it's going to last for the season, because it does tend to split after a while. But last year, I was looking to see if there's any examples actually. We used the very, very thin garden twine, which was plastic. And I used it because I thought, well, it's going to be really strong. But what happened as the tomato was twisted round the string, which I'll show you in a minute, it tightened up way too tight, and it was, sorry, that's rocky at my feet, and it almost cut into the stem. So I wasn't keen on using it again. So I'm using this. You could use a thicker string if you had some. I haven't got any. So let me just show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off. You've just got to take it for granted now that I'm telling you the truth. But under here, I've got a tomato. So all I'm going to do is tie the string. It's so simple, really. Tie the string with a fair bit on the end in case I want to loosen it off as the season goes on. Nice and tightly around that stick. And I'll bring you down and show you what I'm going to do at the other end. Right, here we are at the other end of the string. And you can see that's about the length that we're going to have it. I don't want this to be pulling too tight. As I said about last year, if it gets too tight, it starts to cut into the stem. Okay, so what I want to do then is make sure I add another 6 to 8 inches, because what I do now, I'm going to cut that off. Okay, put that out the way, and then you can see, yeah, it's a good 8 inches longer than the plant itself. Find a little trowel, where have I put my trowel? Here it is. Okay, I want it to be as far under the, as near to the string as possible. Now this, as I say, because this has been only built up really for a couple of years, oopsie, we have still got some of the previous soil beneath. Rocky he is getting fed up now, you know. I've got pigeons outside, I've got Rocky on the inside, and I'm pretty sure I can hear the Eurovision Song Contest going on somewhere along the line. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to plant these too deep. I think we all know that with tomatoes you can plant them deep because they will create roots all the way up the stem for as far as you want to grow them. In fact, I must give a shout out to Rebecca. Let me get sitting down properly. I must give a shout out to Rebecca at Mornings at the Allotment. I'll put a link, hopefully, up here somewhere, or there, wherever, because she was shown the other day how she's just planted out some tomatoes that she thought really had bitten the dust. And the problem was, and this happens to a lot of us, she'd planted them a little bit early, they'd shot up, and she hasn't had the chance to plant them out. And what happens there is they become quite leggy. So for example, hers was sort of bare stem up to about there, say. So what she did, and I found this fascinating, she used a bulb planter, which again is a brilliant idea. You've just seen me digging with that. If your soil's not the best, a bulb planter would be so much better. But she actually planted them in sideways or at an angle, covering up almost all of the stem. You know, she left leaves at the top, but the leggy part of the stem was covered. And she said, what will happen then, that will turn and grow up like an ordinary tomato, but all that stem that you've got below the soil is it's going to produce roots. So, you know, in a way, she's probably going to have stronger plants. So anyway, that one is going to be deep enough for me. I have hit the, I'm calling it subsoil, it's the previous soil there. You can see this is the quality of the soil when we took on the plot. It wasn't great at all. I'm not going to put anything in it. I could do, but I'm not going to. But what I am going to do, because you'll have noticed I hadn't watered the soil before I raked it over, I'm going to give that hole a nice drink of water. Then all I'm going to do, take out my plant. What's this? pink heart. This is an absolutely beautiful tomato. These were grown from Save Seed from last year, and they're a brilliant slicing tomato. They grow nice and big. Not as big as a beefsteak, but they are heart shaped and they're gorgeous. But you can see that is quite ready to go in. It's even got a couple of side shoots on. I'm going to have to do that as I plant, you know, because quite a lot of them got the side shoots on. And what you want to do, because these are cordon, so these are going to grow, we're going to encourage these to grow straight up. You want to be taking the side shoots off, that bit there, as they appear, because otherwise your strength's going to go into them and not into the stem, which is what we want. Right, oh, I nearly did it without doing this. All I want to do here, various different ways of doing it. Some people plant the tomato, then tie the string round the stem. I don't like that idea because I think it puts more stress on the tomato as the tomato grows up a bit. I was watching Charles Dowding. He just ties a nice chunky knot and puts that in there, and then puts the tomato in on top of it. I'm not even going to do that. No siree, Charles. I'm going to do it my way. And my way is literally tie it around the tomato. I mean, it looks a bit silly, doesn't it, really? But if it ties around the root like that, as those roots grow, you can see it's getting tighter already. I will loosen it up at the top. As those roots grow out, they are going to grow over that string, and it will be really, really firmly anchored. Right, I've made it too tight, so I'm just going to let it out at the top a bit. There we go, and that just demonstrates how useful it is to leave that little bit extra. Sit that in its hole. I'm going to take a couple of bottom leaves off, and that's it. And then, oh, keep the label. You know what you like, Jane. Mound that round. Give it a good firm. I might even take off those lower leaves so they're not touching the soil. That one as well. Oh, go on. Okay. Pop the label back in. And then give it another good water. Always try with tomatoes not to get water on the leaves. It's more important later in the season when you've got great big plants, because you don't want to be encouraging, like I have there, blight. So that's one that's not really big enough to go around the string yet, so I'll put one in and show you how we twist it. If I just show you then, you can see there's some give in that. That will firm up. This needs another watering. As the tomato grows. But if I just show you, all we're going to do is literally support the tomato as it goes up just by twisting it round the string, and that's as easy as it is. See, that's a little bit lax there, a little bit lax, a little bit too much of it, but that doesn't matter. I can either tighten it at the top for the time being or just leave it, which is what I'm going to do, because as I say, that will, in time, that will tighten up. But yeah, you can do it that way. You can do the variety of different, how you're going to bury it in the soils. You can also use the strings but just have them hanging straight and use plastic clips, and they clip onto the string and then clip onto the stem. You could use Velcro, you can use an old t-shirt if you want, but this is my preferred method. And so hopefully it might, you know, it's funny, tomatoes do make me a bit sniffy, but hopefully that's giving you an idea as to how you can support your tomatoes using a few sticks and a bit of string. Okay, right, there we go. That is how I am supporting my tomatoes. Now, I'm not going to lie, I've only done those two. I've got 81 more to go, but no, what I'm going to do, I've worked out, I'm going to have 12 each side in the polytunnel. I am. I'm going to have a few in the greenhouse down there, because that is filling up with peppers, cucumbers, melons, more about that another time. So yeah, there'll be 24 in here. I've got a bed outside that I'm going to do things like crimson crushing, and I think I've got Moneymaker. I know I've got another one that's suitable for going outside, but the rest will be going to friends. There'll be trays of tomatoes, whether they like it or not. But yeah, I've got a really nice variety this year. That's the only reason I've got so many, is because people have sent me different seeds. And I think it might have been Mandy a couple of years ago who sent me the pink heart, and they've been a firm favourite. So thank you, Mandy. They are still going and being passed on. But then this year we had Ali from over in the States who sent me all the strangest varieties. So your Brad's Atomic Grape, Get Stuffed, blueberries, all that. Oh crikey, that's another thing. I've got a whole load of cherry tomatoes. They will be going in the bottom greenhouse. But yeah, who's not going to grow them if someone sends you the seed? It's really exciting. Finding out new flavours, you know, it's good. So no, I've planted 2. I will plant the others. Obviously, showing it to you is a bit more labour intensive because, as you know, if you're just doing something yourself, you can just whiz through it quite quickly. But I'm not going to do any more tonight because I'll be honest with you, it must be getting on for about 8 o'clock now. I haven't had any tea. It's my wedding anniversary. And when Mike said earlier on, he said, you know, okay, come on, what are we going to do? What are we going to do for our wedding anniversary? All I could think of was, well, actually, I really want to go up and plant the tomatoes out. So yeah, but he understands. He knows what I'm like. He enjoys it as well. So hopefully this week, the worst of the rains are over. I think we are going to be getting a couple of days bad weather early in the week, but I feel like then we should be getting into this season proper. I don't know if you're like this, but I feel I'm behind. I haven't got my beans. You saw the beans on the table. I haven't got them in the ground yet. But when I actually looked back at the videos, I noticed that it was only about this time last year that I actually planted up the polytunnel. So you know what I mean? I think we always think, especially when you see other things, I say this all the time, on social media, on videos, you think, oh, they've got theirs in, I must put mine in. Everything catches up in the end. You know, we'll be all right. It's only May. So that's it. I'm not going to waffle on too much. I've done enough already. Let me know in the comments below what you do with your tomatoes. Do you use string? If so, how do you use it? Do you use stakes? Have you got some of those fantastic tomato cages that I've seen people use? Because it's great, you know, this suits me for now, but if I see something even better, I'm going to pilfer someone else's ideas. You know, we can magpie different ideas from one another, and that's what makes it really good. Do go over and have a look at Rebecca's video. Like I say, I think I linked it earlier on, but I'll put a link underneath as well, because it's just such a good idea. It's one of those ideas that makes you think, why haven't I thought of that? You know, it's great. But yeah, other than that, come along to the Facebook group, come along to Instagram, please subscribe. You'll be very, very welcome. Press the notification bell as well, so you know when there's a video uploaded. And hopefully this next week or two, I'll be getting back to do my 2 videos a week, because I've been a little bit remiss lately. There's been other things going on. So yeah, with that, I'm going to go. Hope you're all well. Let's look forward to some summery weather, and I'll see you again very soon. Okay, bye for now.